Every new day brings new opportunities for you to conquer the business world.
Start your day with the show that drives your business.
Be the first to know the latest prices around town, the latest business information around the country and the world.
We bring you in-depth analysis with exclusive interviews from your key players.
And of course, wouldn't you want that for your morning? Get up to speed with what is trending in the business world, all in one morning show. Smart Means Business with your favorite guy, Joram Paul Sonko
and Rita Kawanyoro.
Every weekdays, Mondays to Friday from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. as we drive you into the business world. This is Smart 24. Smart 24, driving business. Every new day starts with new opportunities for you to conquer this business world. And getting up to speed with information that is very relevant, it's crucial for your well-being and for the growth of your business, vital. And as a matter of fact, when you look at the fact that you would want your morning to be enticed and receiving relevant information, and this is what we do for you. This is Smart Means Business. Be the first to know details to do with business, because we mean it and we are driving business in that regard. I'm Joram Paul Sonko. Now we're up to our topical discussion of the day. It is a Thursday, and clearly on a Thursday we have a political economic situation when it comes to our thematic days. But here today we're going to be looking at the sector-wide implications of the Nssf Amendment Act of 2021. And just like earlier on, before we went into a break in our press review, yesterday Nssf revealed that it has disbursed 78.8 billion Ugandan shillings in the first week of the midterm payments that had started in the other last week. And joining me on set here is, we do have a guest coming in from the Uganda Retirement Benefits Regulatory Authority, that is OPRA, and who is the head and director legal services, who I'll give time to actually introduce herself. You're most welcome, and many thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
If you're out there, we want to know, who do we have here, and what does OPRA do?
Okay, thank you, Joram. Good morning, our viewers and those listening in. My name is Rita Nssf, the Director Legal Services at OPRA and the Board Secretary. What OPRA does, OPRA stands for the Uganda Retirement Benefits Regulatory Authority. We are a government agency that was set up to regulate and supervise the establishment, management, and operation of retirement benefit schemes in Uganda in both the public and private sector. And this includes Nssf and a number of retirement benefit schemes that are licensed by OPRA. Okay,
let's now try to take on our discussion. Nssf says it disbursed over 78.8 billion. Sure. And the report also reveals that most of the Ugandans fall in the 10 million mark. So that is 5 to 10 million. Yes. Not quite many exceed that one. I think not many exceed over 20 million. So if you're to take us through, first let's go through the process. A very big discussion here and a very huge judgment is that I've been saving my money for, let's say, the last 10 years. I'm 45 years and above. Then I'm sending in my application. First, the question would be, why do I need to go through a vetting process? Or why is it that there are people who got their NSSF applications or should I say, most of them were not accepted in the long run. So some of them were actually accepted and they would receive the money. The others were not subjected to receiving the money. How come that happened?
Okay, thank you, Joram, for that question. The midterm benefits that are commonly known were provided for under the Nssf Amendment Act, that's the Act of 2021, which changed this law to allow members to access a limited portion of their benefits, which is 20% for a member who is aged 45 years old and has contributed in Nssf for the last 10 years, or for 50% for a member that is disabled and has contributed into the fund for 45 years and above. You talked about the vetting process. Why the vetting? Because as I've told you, the law set that minimum requirement. You should be aged 45 and you should have contributed for 10 years or more. And Nssf the Ministry of Gender went ahead to come up with regulations to implement this provision in the Nssf Amendment Act that required for you to have made 120 consecutive contributions into the fund. Okay. Meaning you should have been an active member and there should have been money remitted onto your account. So why you may hear that some members have been vetted and dropped off, probably they do not meet those minimum requirements. Someone could be 45 years old, but the number of remittances or contributions made into the fund don't add up to the 120 that are required by the law. So that member would be knocked off. And you might find there are those who even went to apply before making the 45-year age mark. So that one would automatically be dropped off. Okay. And another reason why you have to vet, you should be sure that you're paying the right member, because this is members' money. Okay. You could pay out someone who is not the right member. So you have to vet and make sure that the person actually coming to claim this money is the one that should be rightfully paid. Okay. So that is the vetting process that they have to go through. And you talked about the 10 million that each member probably that has been paid out is getting.
Most of the numbers that were recorded is that they are in the age bracket.
In the range
of
10 million.
Yes.
This could be informed by the member's balance on the account, because you can only get what is on your account.
True.
So you can't get more if you. I remember.
You're accessing 20%.
Yes, you're accessing 20%. So that 10%, that 10 million is the equivalent of the 20% of your balance. This balance standing on your account. So you can't get more than what you have on your account. So that is where we urge members to contribute more, and probably those are the other additions in the Nssf Amendment Act, making more contributions. So a member that has a larger balance on the account would get more than the 10 million. So this is mainly informed by what you have, the contributions that are standing on your account at that point in time.
Okay, now let's look at what do you believe may have led for some people's applications not to be accepted?
Okay, thank you, Joram. Like I had said, some applications may not have been accepted because members may not have met the minimum requirement of the 45 years of age and having saved for 10 years consecutively. So you might find that there are some members who may be 45, they could have saved for the 10 years, but however, the contributions haven't been coming in on a regular basis. So you have an account, but it's inactive. There is no money. Although you're 25 years old, yes, you could have been a member for all those years, but your employer has not been remitting money into the fund for you. Okay. So this is where we urge members as OPRA to take this upon yourself. Ensure that your employer remits this money for you. We've observed some employers that deduct this money from the member and do not remit it into the fund. So the member would be disadvantaged. This money has been deducted from your gross salary. However, it hasn't been remitted into Nssf for you to benefit. So certain members have been going to the fund to apply, only to find that their balances are not matching the time they have been required to contribute. So such members will be dropped off.
Okay, now let's also still look at the issue of the midterm access. Apart from the midterm access to the 20% of the savings, what else does the Nssf Amendment Act 2021 give to the savers? Because most Ugandans were only eager to hear about we are getting the 20%. Okay. The vulnerable group were very eager to hear we are getting the 50%. Yes. But what else is entailed in this particular act?
Okay, thank you for that question, Joram. This Nssf Amendment Act 2021 has a number of aspects that it is covering in addition to the midterm access. Meter access is just one of them. But what is in this act for the member? This amendment has introduced a provision that has expanded coverage. Initially, the Nssf Act required for you to contribute to Nssf, you should employ at least 5 employers and more. Meaning someone who was employing just one person, 2, 3, or 4, was not required to contribute for these people into Nssf. So with the amendment, you're now required as an employer, regardless of the number of employees you have. Even if you're employing one person, 2, 3, or 4, you're all required to contribute into the Nssf fund. So this benefits the member, this worker that has been missing out on this opportunity. You now have the responsibility to ensure that your employer remits your contributions into the fund. And the other benefit is that the amendment has also increased coverage for those in the informal sector. Because we all know that just like us working in the formal environment, even those in the informal sector will retire at some point. They become old and need this money to help them in their old age. But they did not have such an arrangement. So the Nssf Act has been amended to increase this coverage. So even those in the informal sector can voluntarily contribute to saving Nssf, including those that are self-employed. In this regard, the regulator had licensed 2 schemes targeting the informal sector. That is the Mazima Retirement Plan and Casita, to cover those working in the informal sector and the self-employed. So we see this as an addition to the already good initiatives that the regulator has started, that now Nssf can cover even those that are self-employed and in the informal sector.
Earlier on you did mention about some employers who do not who remit for their employees.
Yes.
Are there systems that have been put in place and to ensure that these employers remit these particular funds to their employees?
Yes, a number of systems have been put in place. First of all, by the Nssf itself. It has a compliance department that follows up with these employers to make sure that they remit. So they ask you for your the payroll, to ensure that the number of employees that you have, you're actually remitting contributions on their behalf into the fund. And in addition, I'm sure you've been seeing a number of adverts on the roads encouraging members to whistleblow. If you have an employer and they are not remitting your contributions into the fund, then you can go and whistleblow to Nssf. You can even whistleblow to OPRA as a regulator, and we take on these employers to find out why they are not actually remitting contributions into the fund. Because at the end of the day, it's you who is losing out. It's you who is missing this benefit that the law allows you to benefit.
But why do you believe some of these employers shun away from remitting these funds?
From the survey we did as OPRA, we noted that a number of employers are constrained financially. Currently, you see the financial situation in the country is not so good. So if an employer is hard-pressed, most times they are aware of this legal obligation to remit contributions into the fund. However, they do not prioritize this. It's not good for the employee that is losing out. However, sometimes the employers are hard-pressed because of the different financial needs, so they don't rank this as a priority. But as the regulator will tell employers that it should be a priority for you to get the best out of this employee, then you should give them the best terms of employment, including contributing for their retirement savings and remitting this money into Nssf or into any licensed scheme that the regulator has licensed.
Let's also have a look at the situation. Do you think also these years are too many? Should they be reduced so that at least even people at 40 years, for most especially those who are non-vulnerable, like the people with, let's say, disabilities, or maybe 35 years. Do you think the 45 is right?
Personally, I would think the 45 age is right, because we shouldn't lose the long-term, the purpose of these savings. This money is supposed to help this person when they are in retirement. It is a long-term saving, because currently you're working and you're only remitting 5% of your gross salary and your employer is remitting 10%, meaning you have the other 95 to meet your other daily needs. So this money you have been compelled by law to save into Nssf. So it shouldn't be the first resort or first call when you're hard pressed, because you have this other balance that remains after the remitting of the 5 and 10. So you already have enough money. We believe it should be able to meet your day-to-day needs, the short-term needs, while this money is kept for you in retirement, because at that point you won't have a job. You won't have anybody to help you. So this money should be helping you at that point. But given the conditions and the COVID time, government thought it wise to allow this midterm access, just a provisional interim access, but without losing the long-term goal of saving for retirement. So I think the 45 age is ideal.
Okay, now let's also take it back to a situation whereby some of the applications that were not granted access of the funds by Nssf. Do you believe, because now it becomes very difficult, these are some of the reasons as to why it becomes difficult for people to access their funds. And if you're to take us a little bit of, if you're to look at the ongoing exercise when they actually cancelled out these people, do you think this is one of the reasons as to why people don't want to actually save? Because we may be looking at it at the employer's level, yet even the employees themselves feel it's non-mandatory, because Nssf also gives room for self-employed people to save.
Yes.
But still they don't choose to save. Do you think this vetting process also has an issue to do with why they don't want to save with Nssf?
I don't think the vetting process could be a deterrent for people not to save for NSF. Of course, this is something that just started this year in March, when they were given the midterm access, so they are vetted to access their benefit.
The funds has also been very difficult.
No, previously it was difficult to access the funds in NSSF, but I think we've noticed an improvement.
Okay.
We've noticed an improvement, and NSF normally talks about this. The turnaround time is much shorter than how it was before. I wouldn't really take the credit as OPRA, but we know we've also helped see this improvement with the oversight of the regulator, because retirement benefit schemes are required to ensure that when a member needs their money, it is available as and when the member comes for it. So we've seen a lot of improvement in the turnaround time. Previously, it would take members over 12 months to get their money, but I'm informed that they take less than even 4 days. It could take less than 4 days. And sometimes what causes this delay is the records. Sometimes members don't have their records right. Sometimes they need supporting documents. They do not have them. Some people misplace their probably Nssf numbers, or those that leave employment, you don't have your termination letter or something. So most times it's the record, the lack of the records that causes this delay. But we've seen a lot of improvement in ensuring that members get their benefits as and when due.
Okay. Now, as the regulatory authority, what initiatives have been done to ensure that maybe there is an increase of public enrollment to Nssf?
Okay. As OPRA, the regulator, we have done a lot of member sensitization to show every Ugandan that it is important to save for your retirement. It is important to save for your old age, because it's certain that we shall all grow old. Today we could be strong and energetic, we're working, but at that point, 60 and above, when you're frail, you need to save for that time, the golden years. You need to save for them. So we've done a lot of member sensitization. And we've also gone ahead to license other occupational schemes or other voluntary schemes. Irene spoke about Mazima and Kasita. We've licensed a number of umbrella schemes, over 11 umbrella schemes, where we encourage every Ugandan that is working to save, to put aside some money for their old age. So let alone the compulsion by law, we are also encouraging voluntary savings. That's why we've licensed all these umbrella schemes to give people an option. Because in addition, the one in Nssf, you're being compelled. Your employer is putting it in compulsory and the 5% being deducted from you. But out of your own volition, you can go ahead and make additional savings in all these licensed schemes that the regulator has licensed.
All right, let's talk about retirement plans.
Yes.
Planning for retirement, very crucial topic, by the way. When you look at how Ugandans have been planning for their retirement, there is actually a report that shows that out of, when you look at the working population, let's say, yes, most of the people who are working currently, in the when it comes to the time of retirement, very few, if you have to look at the numbers, it may actually be 10% can afford the same lifestyle that they were actually living when they were still employed or they still had these businesses. Some of them lose their assets in the long run. Now, let's look at planning for retirement. What are those key things that people need to know when planning for retirement? Or has it been difficult to plan for retirement in this economy? Or what are those challenges that we're facing?
Okay, the challenges we see that people are faced with while planning for retirement, most times people think of retirement as a faraway thing. I think, well, I'm just 40, I'm just 35,
I'll
I've started
retire
work.
later.
I'll retire later. It's something of the future. So we don't plan appropriately for it. However, the best way to plan is to start early. Start early, start when you're young, start saving small, and by the time you grow old, you enjoy the compounding effect, because this money that has been set aside is growing, it's being invested and earns interest. So when you access it on retirement, then it can help you have the same lifestyle you had while you're actively working, or something similar. But we've seen that most people do not plan for that, do not set aside some money for their old age. And what we've also seen that people tend to take on a lot of commitments towards retirement. Probably they haven't built a house, they haven't done so many things. So it's at that point that they're now beginning to think of constructing a house. Yet we believe that by the time you're retiring, you should have a residential house, you should have somewhere to stay. So that this money you get in retirement is not to construct a house, but to help you with your day-to-day needs, like the medical, because we know at that point you're frail, you need medical treatment. So this money should ideally be helping you to meet your medical needs, your daily day-to-day needs, than meeting those big obligations of rent, school fees. So retirement planning is very important while you're still young and energetic, and that's why OPRA encourages every Ugandan to start early, start young, start small, enjoy the compounding effect. So by the time you're reaching 60, your money is working for you and helping you meet those needs in your old age.
Before we actually came into the discussion, me and my fellow who happens to be your namesake, Rita, were discussing something about the next of kin and how someone can determine choosing your next of kin once you're gone. Then who is going to take care of, let's say, the Nssf benefits? We're actually also going to get to that in case someone has been saving for the last 20 or 15 years and now he's no more. How can his family access these funds? But now let's first get into the idea of how advise on choosing the next of kin for anyone out there.
Okay, you talk about a next of kin. There is the next of kin and there's also a beneficiary. The next of kin might not necessarily be the beneficiary of your benefits, but the next of kin is someone who knows about your savings in Nssf. So this is the person that can ideally inform your family that, Rita had some contributions in Nssf. It's so much, this is the number, Nssf number, this is how you can go and access this money. But in addition to nominating a next of kin, you're also required to nominate a beneficiary. So the beneficiary is this person, could be your children, could be your parent, those that don't have children probably, could be someone you think would benefit from your savings upon your demise, upon your death. So it's important that every member of a retirement benefit scheme, including Nssf, first you nominate a next of kin. This is the person who will take care of your affairs when you're gone. And in addition to nominating a next of kin, then you have to nominate a beneficiary. This is someone who will benefit from your savings in the fund. This could be your children, so you clearly name them. I have my 5 children. These are their names. They will benefit from my savings in Nssf. Some people can even go ahead and prescribe the percentages, how they want these benefits to be distributed. So
let me get this straight. Can a beneficiary, can the next of kin be a beneficiary? Or it shouldn't work that way? They
could be a beneficiary, because ideally it is you, the member, exercising your wish while you're still alive. So if you think your next of kin should be your beneficiary, it's very okay. Yes, it's fine.
Okay, now we're still talking about planning for retirement as well. And we've also got issues with, let's say someone has been planning for retirement and then let's say you're saving, because you didn't mention about saving for investment. This is a very big topic. If you're to advise someone, where best can someone invest? Because some people have invested in buying cars. Investment depends on one's ideology. Someone will invest in buying, let's say, land, or someone will actually buy a house. So when you look at saving for investment, where should I put that money? Because I may think by buying a car, I'm investing my money. Maybe in the long run, I'll sell it off. But though I'll sell it at a cheaper, because at the time the evolution is actually
depleted.
It's depleted already. So, but when you to actually advise someone on saving for investment, where should they put that money?
Okay, thank you for that question. First of all, I don't think buying a car is an investment, because a car is a liability. It needs fuel, you need to service it, you need to keep it roadworthy.
So invest in public transport.
Okay, public transport, yes, because it's bringing in money. The people using your car are giving you money. But if you're just buying this car for your own use, it could be a necessity or a requirement, but it's not necessarily an investment because it keeps taking out the money instead of bringing it in. But some of the available options for investment include government securities, government bonds. Those are bonds you could buy, even with 100,000 shillings, Uganda shillings, you could buy a government bond.
Where can someone buy them from?
These bonds are normally sold, I think, by the Bank of Uganda.
Okay.
They are sold, and you can invest that money there. It works for you. You don't have to really struggle, because once you put in that money, it keeps working for you, and you get a return, an interest on that. And there are also shares in listed companies. You have a number of companies listed on our stock exchange, so someone can buy shares in those companies, and that way your money works for you. Some people can invest in real estate. Real estate, you could probably buy land and sell it off, or construct rentals, and the money that the tenants pay out is investment income for you. But an investment should be something that adds onto your income rather than depleting your income. Yes.
So I think it takes us back to our generation here, where we now believe in taking what we have. We believe in getting the money, the small money you have today, you chew it, so clearly, and also living to impress the people. The people of my generation normally say, living to impress the streets. And there's a time when the streets are no more, and it's now you against the world.
Yes.
And so it's always very important for you to sit back and realize, how about my future? I've actually got to realize as well that in the last when you look at the generation situation, most of the children are taking care of their parents. You realize a parent, after taking the child, after the child graduating at around, maybe the parent is now 50 or 60 years, and they cannot exercise or do all these particular jobs, all that, they're going to start depending on the child. Now the child has a family to take care of, and then has the parent to take care of. So which is actually very critical. Let's also get back here and try to understand, do you think the Nssf remittance benefits saves the government or the savers?
Wow. The Nssf, the midterm benefit, we think government is listening to the plight of the population, especially those serving in Nssf. And their cries came out loud during the COVID period, where people needed a fallback position. The medical bills were skyrocketing. People really needed some help. So that is why government thought it wise to allow this mid-term access. But as I told you, these retirement savings are for the long term. Even in the Nssf Act, there were early access was at 50 years or 55. However, government has lowered it to 45, and to allow you just a portion, 20%, meaning they haven't lost focus of the long-term vision of you accessing that money in retirement. So we think it was just to meet people halfway, try and help them meet their needs without losing the long-term focus of the member.
I don't know, I'm sorry to cut you short. I don't know why I even forgot this question. I forgot to actually ask. People have been receiving this money. And the very first thing people have in their mind is that now you've received money that you had not planned for initially. It is not there.
Yes.
The first part, you know, with Ugandan money, once you receive money that you had not planned for initially, you get a lot of plans there and then, yes. And they even expand more, bigger than that. So how can people make good use of this money? Now, I've looked at the bracket here, it's around 10 million. That is the range. So either way, most of them have been receiving 8 to 15 million. Yes. That is the range, according to those that have been saving. And maybe working for employers who have been paying them quite a good salary. For the people who have actually been in the bracket of 10 to 15. But when you look at that, someone getting, let's say, 10 million, let's take the average, 10 million. How best can they use this money? Because I'm saying people are going to buy new cars, new phones.
As OPRA, the regulator, because our mandate is to ensure that members are protected, we advise, first of all, we advise these members that only go for this money if you need to. If you really need to go for it, then go for it. Because your money is there. It's there actually.
Well, there is a worry that you may go for it, you may not go for it and you never get
No,
it.
no, that money is there because it's saved with, Nssf has saved it, it is invested, it's earning you an interest. So I would think you're better off keeping that money there and it continues working for you instead of getting it and you don't even have plans for it. You've talked about the million plans someone can have, but 10 million can do so much. So if you haven't planned for it well, you could even blow it up and regret why you got it. So that's why we say, if you really have to, go for it. But if you have other alternatives, then you don't have to go for it. However, if you decide to get this money to access, because it's your right to get your midterm benefits, but plan for it well. Because we've seen people when they get, it's like a windfall. You didn't plan for it, now it has come. You do all those things that you didn't think about or you don't even need to do. So at the end of the day, you're only disadvantaging yourself. Remember, you have reduced your balance with the fund and you have gotten this money out and you have not used it well. So we urge every Ugandan that is getting this money, please plan for it well and only get it if you have to. Because at the end of that, it is still your money and you're only disadvantaging yourself if you misuse it.
Okay, let's now first get this out of the way. Who qualifies for the midterm? If you've served with Nssf for the last 10 years and you're 45 years and above, you're good to go.
Yes.
And if you are a person with disability, you've served for the last 10 years and 40 years. Now, here's the thing for people with disabilities. They have they're actually ahead of some of us. If you've been there, served for the last 10 years and you're 40 years, you access 50%. So this is where we tend to actually say, and furthermore, in line with regulations for the National Social Security Fund, the regulations 2022, eligible members for the benefit must have at least 120 monthly contributions. This is another twist with the fund and may opt to apply for these benefits in installments agreed upon with the fund. I think you need to also clarify more that. So there's a chance for you to apply for installments.
Yes, because although the law allows you 20%,
okay,
you might not need the 20%. Like our earlier discussion, you might not even have a plan on how to use it.
Okay.
For example, if your 20% is equivalent to 50 million, you might not have a plan for the 50 million to absorb all the 50 million. So you could as well go and say, I want to apply for just 5%. I know I have a ceiling of up to 20%, but I want installments of say 5% for now. I'll come for the 10% later, and then the other 5 later on when I have better plans on how to explain the installment that the fund is talking about to enable you plan better. At least if you have not properly used the 5%, you have another 10 and then another 5 to hit your ceiling of 20%. So that is the intention of the breakdown.
Last year, the president made a very huge statement of, I don't know, I don't want to say threatening, of saying that he would scrap off OPRA. And then this comes after some people actually claiming that some of the Nssf funds are used to invest in some of the government projects. Was that true?
Thank you for that question.
Okay.
It's true there was word that of scrapping OPRA, but the issue was coming from the levy that OPRA was collecting. And allow me to use this opportunity to inform the public that actually the levy that the regulator was collecting is provided for in the OPRA Act. In our section 19. Part of the sources of the authority include levies collected. However, when these levies are collected, they are remitted into the consolidated fund. So the public should note that these monies are not spent at source. This money is collected by OPRA and remitted into the consolidated fund because we are a government agency. So once this money goes into the consolidated fund, it is only that Parliament has appropriated to OPRA that we are allowed to use. So at that point, probably the information did not come out clearly, and the public was misinformed that OPRA was collecting this money and spending it at source. So let me use this opportunity to correct that this money is not spent at source because our law does not allow us. This money is collected as provided for by the law, remitted into the consolidated fund, and only that portion that is in the approved budget, approved by Parliament, is what comes back to OPRA.
Okay.
Yes.
And as we're summing up also, someone would want to know, with OPRA and Nssf, are you a supervisor of the activities of Nssf, or you are an entity to Nssf? We need to get these things straight.
Thank you for that question. I think, as I said earlier in the introduction, OPRA is the supervisor, it's a regulator. So we have the responsibility and the mandate to supervise Nssf. We are not an entity of Nssf. Nssf is just one of the other retirement benefit schemes that we license. To date, we've licensed over 65 retirement benefit schemes, including Nssf. So Nssf is among the 3 mandatory schemes that we've licensed. This includes the Nssf, the Parliamentary Pension Scheme, and to date, the Makerere University Retirement Benefit Scheme. Okay. So those are 3, and there are other 62 licensed retirement benefit schemes. So we are a regulator. We supervise all these schemes, the schemes in the retirement benefit schemes in the private sector and in the public sector.
So that means OPRA has more expertise to provide the supervisory to Nssf.
Yes.
Any other organization that does the same?
None. There is no. For as regards retirement benefits, it's only the OPRA, the Uganda Retirement Benefits Regulatory Authority, that government set up through an Act of Parliament of 2011 to supervise this sector. So there is no other regulator for the retirement benefits sector apart from OPRA.
All right. Now, with the situation summing up this particular discussion is for you to actually understand that you can still go and get the particular mid-term access of the funds that you've been saving. Well, it is also true that you can still access short of the 20% in case you don't have a perfect plan for the 20. You can go for 5% or you can go for 10%. Better yet, 15% or even the 20% if you're going to use it accordingly. Well, then it's also very important for you to utilize these funds quite amicably, that you can, in the long run, use it to better yourself during your retirement age as well. So in your last submission, what is your last take in the matter of the Nssf benefits and then planning for investment?
Okay, thank you. I think as regards saving for retirement, our advice as the regulator is to encourage every Ugandan to save for retirement. Let's have that culture of saving for our old age. At that point when nobody else can look after us, at least our money should be able to look after us. Okay. And as regards the mid-term benefit allowed in the Nssf Amendment Act, as we said, those that really need that money, you can go for it, but ensure that you use it well. Because if you misuse it, you're only disadvantaging yourself and you have yourself to blame. The window is there, you can use it, but when you get this money, please use it well and remember to continue saving. I've also talked about the several other retirement benefit schemes that we've licensed. We encourage everybody to continue saving. Over and above the mandatory contributions, please make voluntary contributions, make additional contributions to enable you live the same lifestyle that you had while you were still gainfully and actively employed.
All right. Thank you very much. That is Rita Faith. The other name is quite difficult.
Nssf.
Nssf. Yes. The head Director Legal Services at the Uganda Retirement Benefits Regulatory Authority, taking us through the issue of Nssf mid-term access and also matters to do with saving for investments. It's quite important for you to actually understand that you should prepare for your retirement as early as possible. Let's first get away from making, we can still spare time for leisure and all that, but also try to think of your life ahead once you're away from that workplace of yours, once your business is no more, and then you've reached that age where you can't do the same jobs that you've been doing. What next for you? So your Nssf is definitely there. Do you seek for Nssf, or do you have plans ahead for your retirement? Quite bigger questions to answer for anyone out there still working, and for any other person who is seeking to start up a business, or anyone who is seeking to get a job. Those are some of the bigger questions you need to have in your mind. When are you preparing for your retirement, and what do you want to have? Which kind of lifestyle do you want to lead in your retirement? Well, with that, we come to the end of our topical discussion. After the break, we are coming back with sports business. This is SMB.